My name is Michael. I'm a 35-year-old divorced man. Due to various connections, I ended up working at this company, but on my first day, something unexpected happened. I bumped into my ex-wife, Jessica, whom I had married 10 years ago. Life with Jessica was quite challenging in many ways. Well, honestly, it had been tough even when we were dating. Wait, Michael, is that you, Michael? This is so funny. What are you doing here? My ex-wife, Jessica, was laughing loudly at the company's entrance. She was drawing attention with her loud laughter, but she seemed completely unaware of it. I couldn't help but smile wryly at her, still not minding the time and place at the age of 35. Despite our rough breakup, I was surprised she could talk to me so nonchalantly, but I tried to act mature. Jer, long time no see. Actually, I started working at this company, and today is my first day. Are you working here as an employee, Jessica? I decided to confirm just in case. Then Jessica looked very pleased with herself. That's right. I'm currently a temp worker, but I'll be a full employee soon. Speaking of which, didn't someone have a wife and then became unable to work? Oh, those were tough times. Her words brought back bitter memories for me. I married Jessica when I was 25, and she was the first girlfriend I ever had in my life, having been unattractive before. We met at a mixer that I was almost forced to attend by my coworkers, which Jessica also attended. I thought she was incredibly cute, someone who could be mistaken for a celebrity. Looking back now, I think it was foolish, but it was love at first sight for me. Michael, are you not much of a talker? Sitting next to Jessica after switching seats, she gave me a kind smile as I became too nervous to speak much. No, it's not that. I just don't get used to places like this and get nervous. As I stumbled over my words, Jessica nodded and responded seriously. I get what you mean. People often think I'm used to mixers, but meeting new people always makes me nervous too. I was surprised by Jessica's words. I really thought Jessica was used to mixers. She seemed like someone who could talk to anyone without getting nervous, and that must have been apparent on my face. Jessica gave her a smile and teased me. You thought I got used to mixers, didn't you, Michael? Since she hit the nail on the head, I decided to confess. Sorry, I did think that. I was worried she might get angry, but Jessica just laughed. But you're honest, Michael. When I bring this up, most people say they didn't think that at all. I appreciate someone who's straightforward. With those words from Jessica, I fell head over heels in love. We exchanged contact information then and there, and started messaging each other little by little after the mixer. I remember being very careful with every single word in my messages. I often sought advice from my younger brother Ethan, who lived with me. Just reply normally, you'll be fine. Don't overthink it. Ethan and I lost our parents in an accident when I was in college and he was in high school. I'm a quiet type who's not good at socializing, while Ethan is outgoing and good at it. Though we're different in personality, we got along well. Michael, hi, you must be tired from work, but would you like to go to a movie on your next day off? I was so happy when Jessica sent me that message. I quickly agreed and asked Ethan to help me pick out an outfit. On the day of the movie, I was nervous from the morning, and Ethan laughed a lot at me. Sorry to keep you waiting. Did I make you wait? Even though it was before our meeting time, Jessica ran up to me, looking apologetic when she saw me. Not at all, it's fine. I'm sorry for making you run. I've been looking forward to today. I feel the same way. All right, let's go then. We immediately headed to the cinema and enjoyed the movie. It was a popular action movie at the time. The Hollywood actor playing the protagonist was incredibly cool, and despite it being fiction, I admired how he heroically came to the heroine's rescue in times of crisis. After the movie, we continued to talk about our thoughts on it even as we went to have lunch. Once lunch was over, we strolled around the shopping mall where the cinema was located. We had planned to part ways in the evening because she had other commitments that day. Thank you for today. I had a great time. Let's do it again if you're up for it. When Jessica said that, I gathered my courage to confess my feelings to her. We hadn't known each other for long since we met at the event, but I've come to like you, Jessica. Would you consider dating me? My voice was trembling, and so was my body. It wasn't the cool confession you'd see in dramas, but it was the best I could do. Jessica was attractive and popular, so I confessed, expecting to be rejected. Really, if you're okay with me, I also want to be your girlfriend. To my surprise, she accepted my confession. I felt like I had used up a lifetime's worth of luck in that moment. Really with me. I was so shocked that I kept asking Jessica for confirmation. Every time I did, she laughed joyfully, looking absolutely adorable. I was overjoyed that someone like me could date Jessica. Then, I am so happy to become your girlfriend. Waving goodbye to Jessica as I walked her to the station, I returned home grinning from happiness, to Ethan's apparent dismay. At this point, you might think I was lucky to be dating such a nice girl. I thought so too, but about 3 months into our relationship, Jessica's attitude started to change. Hey, can you pick me up today? I think I can leave by 5 p.m. We can go on a date. I started receiving messages like this out of the blue more frequently. I was a working adult too. During busy periods, I wasn't always able to meet Jessica's demands. Still, I made sure to get back to her during my lunch break. I remember always having to talk to her on the phone while eating my lunch because there was no time for text messaging. Sorry, Jessica, I'm really busy right now and can't find a time. I'll make it up to you when things calm down. When I said that, Jessica's mood soured significantly. What's more important to you, your work or me? It should be me, right? I never thought I'd hear such a cliché line in real life. I was quite surprised the first time she said it. You're important to me, Jessica, but so is my job. When I honestly replied, Jessica didn't seem pleased. What? Forget it then. I'm doing you a favor by dating you. She hung up in a huff. I sent apology emails, but Jessica kept ignoring them. I kept sending unanswered apology emails and making calls that she wouldn't pick up. I learned that if I didn't do this, Jessica's mood would only worsen. It's fine, I'll forgive you. Only after she said this, bought her an apology gift, and took her to her favorite upscale restaurant would her mood improve. This cycle repeated itself. By the way, Ethan, who didn't think highly of Jessica, had warned me. Don't always try to appease her. Any girl who asks you to choose between her and your job isn't worth it. Get a grip, bro. Unlike me, who struggled with dating, Ethan, with his handsome looks, had always been popular with women. Ethan's words, born from his experiences, carried weight. Maybe you're right, but she's my first girlfriend, and I just want to take care of her. Ethan was exasperated by my indecisive attitude. It's important to want to take care of her, but don't let yourself be pushed around too much. If something's up, come talk to me. I suppose if a handsome guy like Ethan says so, it must be right, but at the time, I couldn't see it that way as someone who wasn't popular with women. Jessica's demands only grew more unreasonable, and I ended up spending a significant amount of time and money on her. I want to do this, I want to have that, I want to go there. Her requests never ceased, and it was often exhausting. I dated Jessica for just under a year. Looking back, the reason we ended up getting married is quite embarrassing. I want to get married, in a gorgeous chapel, with lots of people invited, a grand ceremony. You'll marry me, right? Jessica, with a daunting intensity, demanded marriage. I will absolutely get married in a better place than her. At that time, Jessica was upset because a junior of hers got married before her, wounding her pride. Moreover, that wedding was quite lavish, which seemed to have frustrated her greatly. She became fixated on having a wedding in a more prestigious chapel and with more guests than her junior. Throughout our relationship, she often told me that I couldn't manage without her, that nobody else would date me, and that she was doing me a favor by being with me. Having always lacked confidence, I was convinced by her constant remarks that I needed her and ended up doing whatever she asked. Okay, let's get married. Really? Thank you. Will you fulfill my request? You'll make my dream come true, right? And so, I fulfilled all of Jessica's desires: the engagement ring, the wedding venue, and the honeymoon. My savings weren't enough, so I had to cover the shortfall with loans. On the day I moved out of the apartment to get married, Ethan was still worried for me. "Are you sure about this, bro? Is she really the right person for you to marry?" "It's okay. I'll be happy, I promise. Thanks for worrying about me until now." I wanted to reassure Ethan, who looked concerned, so I made sure to smile. After the lavish wedding, about a month passed, and then, without discussing it with me, Jessica quit her job. "I've always wanted to be a stay-at-home wife. I don't want to work hard anymore, so you'll have to do your best at work." Faced with her demand, I worked extremely hard. I did overtime nearly every night and took on any job available. All my efforts were to maintain our lifestyle with Jessica, but she complained about my late returns. "How many times have I told you, which is more important, your work or me?" When I came home late at night, I had to listen to Jessica's hysterical scolding, leading to many sleepless nights. The overwhelming lack of sleep and stress continued, and it was clear what would happen to anyone in such a state. One day, I finally collapsed at work and lost consciousness. "You're suffering from overwork and mild malnutrition. It's dangerous to keep working like this. You need to be hospitalized." With a serious expression, Dr. Thompson scolded me, leading to my immediate hospitalization. Feeling relieved to be in the hospital, I fell asleep as if I had lost consciousness. The next day, I was awakened by Jessica's shrill voice. "Hey, Michael, what are you doing? Get up and go to work." Jessica was peering down at me, screaming furiously. "If you're not working, where's my money going to come from? What are you doing? I married you, so you better work hard for me." The nurses rushed over to stop Jessica due to her loud screaming. "Are you his wife? Please stop. Can't you see how he looks? Now is not the time for this." The nurses were calm but firm in trying to pull Jessica away, who was resisting fiercely and screaming. "I married this man. He should work for me for the rest of his life." The nurses managed to remove the rampaging Jessica from the room. I felt incredibly pathetic, but I couldn't stop the tears from flowing. It became painfully clear what I meant to Jessica. After 2 days in the hospital, I was discharged and went home. Jessica didn't come to the hospital when I was discharged. I was afraid to go home, thinking about Jessica's mood. "I'm home. Sorry for making you worry." As I timidly entered the house, Jessica stood in the living room, arms akimbo. "Now that you're discharged, you're going back to work tomorrow, right? You have some paid leave, but it doesn't cover everything. So make sure you handle it properly." As expected, Jessica was in a terrible mood, and I apologized profusely. The day after I was discharged, I tried to go to work. But for some reason, I couldn't make myself step out of the entrance. My legs just wouldn't move. Cold sweat broke out, and I struggled to breathe. Scared by the clear anomaly, I called out to Jessica with a trembling voice. "Jessica, could you come here? Something's wrong with my body." What are you doing? Hey, aren't you supposed to be at work by now? Hurry up and go." Angry that I couldn't move, Jessica forcibly pushed me out of the entrance. The moment I was pushed out, I lost consciousness. Later, I learned that a startled neighbor had heard me collapse and called an ambulance, and when I woke up, I was back in the hospital. Jessica didn't come to the hospital, nor did she reply to my messages. I was hospitalized for just one night before returning home. "I'm home. Jessica, are you there?" Unlike before, Jessica wasn't standing in the living room. The furniture and appliances were gone, too. I stood there dumbfounded. For a moment, I even wondered if I had walked into the wrong house. Then, I heard a noise from the entrance and hurried over. Jessica was standing there. "Jessica, where have you been?" "The house is." Before I could finish, Jessica thrust a ring in front of me. Taking it reflexively, I saw it was a wedding ring. "What, Jessica, what is this? A divorce?" My heart pounding, I asked Jessica. "What a hassle you are. Do you know how much trouble you've caused me? I refuse to care for a sick person. If I stayed married to you, we'd live in poverty. I married you because you earned well, but I have no use for a poor man. You're worthless to me." I was so shocked by her words that I froze on the spot. While I was frozen, Jessica continued, "I'll take the furniture and appliances as compensation for my troubles. You have no complaints, right, poor man? Be grateful you could marry me, even for a short while." Jessica left those words behind and walked out of the entrance. I was unable to chase after her, only able to stand there and watch her leave in a daze. I don't know how long I stood there. But as reality gradually sank in, a mix of anger, pain, sadness, emptiness, and embarrassment overwhelmed me. A flood of emotions hit me all at once. Eventually, I was overcome by my feelings and broke down crying, continuing to shout, "Damn it, damn it." As I continued to cry, I noticed the whiskey Jessica had left behind. "Enough, enough. I don't care about anything anymore." Impulsively, I downed the whiskey along with the sleeping pills I had been prescribed by the hospital. At that moment, I genuinely didn't care what happened to me. I didn't think about the consequences. Before I knew it, I blacked out. I vaguely remember feeling somewhat relieved by the sensation, something I had become accustomed to recently. Bro, hey, are you awake? Can you hear me? Don't mess with me, damn it." When I opened my eyes, Ethan was there, crying his eyes out. Seeing Ethan crying so hard he looked nothing like his usual handsome self, I forgot what I had done and just wanted to reassure him, so I held his hand. Ethan cried even louder, forgetting to press the nurse call button, and his crying brought the nurses running. "Michael, it's okay now. Please, Ethan, let's take a step back for a moment, okay? Dr. Thompson will be here soon." Ethan, slightly hyperventilating from crying too much, was led out of the room by a nurse for a moment. After that, I underwent various treatments and Dr. Thompson's examination. As time passed and my consciousness cleared, I remembered the way Jessica treated me and burst into tears again. I ended up causing a scene and inconveniencing the nurses. Eventually, I was prescribed a sedative and fell asleep that day. It was 3 days after I woke up in the hospital that I was calm enough to see Ethan again. Dr. Thompson, who attended to me in the emergency, referred me to Dr. Parker, a psychiatrist, so I got a proper examination and took my medication diligently. Dr. Parker, the psychiatrist, allowed Ethan to visit me after seeing my condition, and I met him for the first time in a while. "Ethan, I'm really sorry about what happened this time. I did something I shouldn't have. You're the only family I have left, and I'm truly sorry." I apologized sincerely to Ethan while lying on the bed. "That's right, you idiot. Do you have any idea how shocked I was? When I found you collapsed on the floor, I thought my heart would stop." Ethan, with tears in his eyes, continued to scold me, and I kept apologizing. The only family member I have was lying there, eyes rolled back, not waking up no matter how much I called. I was out of my mind with worry. Upon saying that, Ethan started crying again. Moved by his tears, I found myself crying as well. We continued to cry in the hospital room for a while. "By the way, how did you end up coming home?" "I'm glad you did. It saved me, but I've been wondering." I asked about that time once our tears had dried. "Well, I hate to say it, but I got an email from that woman. It was fun having a handsome brother-in-law during my married life. Bye-bye, take care, handsome." The moment I saw it, I had a really bad feeling. Hearing that, Ethan had rushed out of his office in a panic. But what about the automatic lock at the front door? I pressed the neighbor's apartment number and asked them to open it. The moment the intercom connected, I shouted, "I'm Michael's brother from next door. Something might have happened to my brother. Please, I beg you, open the door." I need to thank the neighbor, Sarah, who believed in Ethan. We only greeted each other when we met, but it was good to have some interaction. "Let's go thank her when you're discharged." Was her name Sarah? I got her name. Sarah must have been shocked too. I feel so bad. Nobody wants to see their neighbor collapsed. No, actually, I was the only one panicking. Sarah was incredibly calm. Ethan shared the details of what happened at that time. "Are you okay? Can you hear me? Michael, can you hear me?" While Ethan panicked at the sight of me collapsed, Sarah tried to check my consciousness, calming Ethan down. It seems I somehow responded to her calls. Seeing the empty whiskey bottle and a package of sleeping pills, Sarah immediately instructed Ethan. "First, please call an ambulance quickly. It's 911. Do you know this address? It'll be faster if you give them the address." Sarah ran to the kitchen, rummaged through it, and came back with a kettle, cling wrap, and a spoon, having filled the kettle with water. "Could you please lift his back a bit?" Following Sarah's instructions, Ethan, who had just finished the call, helped me sit up. Sarah then inserted her hand wrapped in cling film into my mouth. "Are you okay?" To the frightened and flustered Ethan, Sarah explained, "Your brother has consumed alcohol and sleeping pills together. We need to make him vomit a bit to dilute the concentration in his blood. Let's do what we can until the ambulance arrives." I was made to drink water from the kettle and managed to vomit a little. This was repeated several times as they continued to provide first aid. When the ambulance arrived and Ethan was about to board, Sarah reassured him, saying it would be okay. "I really owe her big time. If she hadn't been there, things could have been much worse for you. We need to rush over to Sarah with a gift as soon as I'm discharged. Let's bring her something really premium." Talking it over has helped me sort things out and calm down. "Are you feeling better now, too?" Seeing Ethan's composed expression made me feel relieved. Crying all that out has cleared my head. It might take some time to fully recover, but I'll get there. I then shared with Ethan the things I hadn't been able to tell him about Jessica. I shared the reason behind my drastic actions, the event that triggered it all. As the story unfolded, Ethan's expression turned furious, and I couldn't help but feel intimidated. "Seriously, she really did that?" "Ethan, I'm okay, really. Calm down, your face is scary. Calm down, Michael. Where's the ring?" "Oh, where did that go? Maybe it's in my bag." I wondered, having no clear memory after seeing the ring and taking the pills. Ethan grabbed my bag and started rummaging through it. "Isn't this it?" A ring was pulled out from inside. "I must have put it in there unconsciously," I mused, and Ethan looked at me with disbelief. "Conscious or not, it doesn't matter. Just throw it and cut ties with that woman for good." I decided to throw it. "Could you throw somewhere on the road for me? I want to end this as soon as possible." "Leave it to me, I'll make sure it's thrown. Just focus on resting and recovering until you're discharged. Now, lie down. You must be tired after all that talking." After hearing that, I felt a bit tired and lay down. With the ring in hand, Ethan left, and I drifted off to sleep. Waking up later, I saw a message from Ethan confirming that the ring was thrown, and I realized I felt relieved that my marriage was over. It was clear that living with Jessica had been a significant source of stress, even if I hadn't fully acknowledged it. A few days later, I was happily discharged from the hospital. With the high-end sweets Ethan brought, we headed to Sarah's place. "Oh, Michael, I'm so glad to see you've been discharged," Sarah exclaimed with tears in her eyes, and I couldn't help but tear up too. "Thank you so much. I heard everything from my brother. I owe my life to you. We're truly grateful for saving him." Ethan and I expressed our gratitude together, and Sarah responded, "As a nurse, I just acted on instinct. I'm just glad you're well now, especially after finding you collapsed at the entrance. I promise I'll never do anything like that again. I'll take better care of myself. Please, make sure you don't. Remember, you have a brother who cares deeply for you." Ethan nodded in agreement with Sarah's encouragement. Since I intended to continue living here, I thought it best to inform Sarah about my divorce from Jessica. Though you might have guessed from the incident, I've divorced my wife, so I'll be living alone from now on, but I'm not planning to move, so I hope we can continue to be good neighbors. I see, but I'm really sorry. I'm not sure if it's my place to say this, but I think it's good that you got a divorce, Sarah said with a somber expression. Sarah had a bitter expression on her face. She shared that when I had collapsed in front of the door, she was shocked and knocked on the door, which was answered by Jessica. "Your husband has collapsed. Does he have any chronic conditions? Should I call an ambulance?" In response to Sarah's question, Jessica coldly replied, "I don't care, just leave him there. He's useless anyway." With those words, she dismissively closed the front door. Hearing this, Sarah hurriedly called an ambulance. I could only offer a wry smile, but Ethan was furious once again. What a terrible woman. Who's the useless one here? I was shocked. How could she say such a thing about her own husband? Sarah seemed angry, perhaps recalling the incident. "Thank you so much, really, for saving me not just once but twice." I thanked to Sarah again. "I apologize for overstepping, as this was between you and your spouse, and I'm an outsider. But now that you're divorced, I had to say it. Michael, there are plenty of better people out there for you. Please feel free to reach out if you ever need to talk about anything. It's a promise," Sarah said, offering her contact information to both Ethan and me. After thanking her once more, Ethan and I returned to my apartment next door. Sarah is such a kind person. I'm lucky to be surrounded by amazing people like you, Ethan. Ethan turned away without responding, his ears red from embarrassment. Knowing he was just shy warmed my heart. A week later, Ethan moved into my place without a word. "Ethan, what's with all the stuff? Why not? You haven't replaced anything yet, right? I brought my stylish appliances and a stylish me myself. Be grateful. You're moving in." I was taken aback by his sudden decision. "Of course, it's more fun with me around, isn't it? Any complaints?" "No, right. Ah, no, none. Thanks, Ethan." I laughed out loud for the first time in a while, and we started living together again, something I hadn't done in years. I was truly happy, having thought living alone might be lonely. I realized that my brother had moved in with me out of consideration for how I was feeling. "Hey, are you listening? What are you zoning out for?" I was lost in thought about the past, and before I knew it, I was zoning out. Jessica was standing there with a displeased look on her face. Sorry, I was just thinking. Did you say something? So, Michael, did you get a job as a janitor or something? Your luck has really gone downhill since our divorce. That's what happens when you let go of a catch like me. I felt no irritation towards Jessica's condescending tone. I just found it pitiful. The old me might have been intimidated, but I'm different now. You haven't changed, Jessica. Still no growth, but I'm lucky to have divorced you. Our marriage was a dark chapter in my life. Jessica was surprised by my words. I had never spoken to her like this, not during our time as a couple or after we got married. Jessica, with her high pride, quickly turned red and started trembling. This was a familiar sign, the precursor to her starting to scream. Just as I was considering covering my ears to block out the noise, someone called out to me. "President Johnson, we've been looking for you. Hurry up, the board meeting is about to start." My secretary, Emily, was waiting. Dressed sharply in a suit, wearing glasses, she was the epitome of a professional secretary. Sorry, did I lose track of time? I'm coming." I hurried along with Emily, leaving Jessica behind. It was Jessica's trembling voice that stopped me in my tracks. President. You a president? What does that mean? You are the president of such a reputable company. What? What are you saying? You must be a janitor at best. It was Emily who stopped in her tracks at those words. She turned around with a wry smile already forming on her face, ready for battle. For some reason, Emily holds me in high regard and has declared that she won't tolerate any disrespect towards me. How dare you? President Johnson is the new head of our company, and your remarks are disrespectful not just to him but to all janitors. Emily was likely fuming, even though I couldn't see her face. President, but when we were married, he would collapse just going to work. Useless, poor. Married, oh, the ex-wife. Yes, the infamous ex-wife. Emily began to speak with an excited demeanor. Having heard about my experiences with Jessica, Emily had once mentioned that she'd like to give the former missus a piece of her mind if they ever met. In a way, this was a moment where her wish came true. Infamous. Yes, we've heard about the demanding wife who abandoned President Johnson when he collapsed. What a shame, ex-Mrs. Johnson. If you had supported him, you could have been the wife of a company with an annual turnover of $20 million. What a big fish you let slip away. Emily spoke with exaggerated disappointment. What a pity. Jessica's face turned bright red. $20 million. Did you say $20 million? Come on, President Johnson. The board meeting is about to start. Let's go. Emily urged me cheerfully. Having said her piece, and we headed to the board meeting. Leaving Jessica standing there stunned, I walked away. At that time, besides the divorce and living with my brother, there was another significant event in my life. My brother's startup. How about joining me, bro? Ethan asked me earnestly. Overcoming the divorce made me feel like I could do anything, so I decided to start the business with Ethan. There were trials and errors, and times when things didn't go well, but we kept pushing forward. Working together as brothers was fun and rewarding. Before we knew it, the company had grown significantly. The company I first joined had become a subsidiary, and after consulting, I was appointed as the president. After a board meeting, Emily and I were leaving the conference room when Jessica was waiting. Great job on the meeting, Michael, she said, trying to link arms with me. I shook off her arm forcefully. What? Can you stop? I said, and Jessica approached with a smirk. Michael, you're still single, right? Let's forget the past and start over. I'm still unmarried too, she suggested. Ethan's voice cut through just as I was getting fed up with Jessica. Figures, a woman like you would still be single. Ethan was openly displaying his disdain for Jessica. The furrow between his brows was deep. Ethan, long time no see, still as handsome as ever. Jessica tried to switch gears, appearing pleased, despite Ethan's words. Could you not call me that? We're strangers to you. Strangers, really? Jessica was frustrated, but we were indeed strangers now. Thank you for your hard work. Are you done for the day? Emily, thank you for always looking after my husband, said the voice of my beloved wife. Turning around, I saw my wife, Sarah, with a gentle smile. Mrs. Johnson, it's my pleasure. Emily responded with a polite nod. Yay, we're all done. Sorry for making you wait. You mean, oh, I've seen you somewhere before, Jessica exclaimed, recognizing Sarah. Oh, what a surprise to see a familiar face. Long time no see, ex-Mrs. Johnson. Sarah responded with ease, revealing that she was now my wife. Don't you remember? I was your neighbor when you were married to my husband. Now, I'm his wife. Yes, I had remarried Sarah. I never thought I'd marry again, but after the divorce, flashbacks of Jessica's harsh words would sometimes overwhelm me. One time, when Ethan was out and I was alone, I had a flashback and dropped a glass of water, curling up on the floor in distress. When I was crouched down, gasping for breath, Sarah called out to me from the entrance. "Are you okay, Michael?" Her voice trembled, but when I sought help, Sarah came right away. As a nurse, she likely grasped my condition and offered comfort. Her gentle strokes on my back soothed me. "It's okay, Michael. Can you tell me what's on your mind?" She soothed me as I sobbed, sharing my thoughts. "I'm just as Jessica said, worthless. I can't do anything right." "That's not true at all. Don't listen to those who hurt you. You're not a bad person. You're kind and considerate, a wonderful person." Sarah comforted me as I continued to cry. "Remember, there are people who care about you. Don't forget that. Take care of yourself." Sarah started crying, and when Ethan saw us crying together as we got home, he was shocked. After hearing why, even Ethan started crying. "I keep saying how important my brother is to me. Get it through your head already." Crying together is an embarrassing memory, but it's a precious one. Since then, I've had my moments of anxiety, but each time, Sarah and Ethan have been there to help me. I can't thank the two of them enough for being there and speaking words of encouragement. After that, the three of us, including Sarah, started going out to eat more often, and I also spent more time out with just Sarah. I found myself naturally drawn to Sarah, but I was too shy to even confess my feelings. "Bro, you like Sarah, don't you?" Ethan said that, and I honestly opened up about it. "I do, but liking someone is scary. I feel like I'm going to get hurt again." Ethan, seeing how scared I was, told me. "Sarah is different. I'm absolutely sure of it. From what I've seen, I think Sarah is interested in you too." Encouraged by Ethan's mysterious confidence, as if saying to trust in how handsome he is, I confessed to Sarah. Sarah was surprised by my confession, but then, with a red face, she said, "I like you too. I'm really happy you said that, Michael." The joy I felt when Sarah said that is beyond words. When I told Ethan, he was really happy for me. After we got married, Sarah has been a huge support. Worrying about my health due to my late returns, she prepared stomach-friendly meals and made sure our home was a comfortable place to rest. Whenever I thank Sarah for everything she does, she just smiles. "I love you, after all. I want you to do what you love wholeheartedly. Seeing you lively and well makes me really happy. Please, make your and Ethan's dreams come true." I remember crying, thinking what an amazing woman I married. "You, home wrecker, flirting with someone else's husband." When Jessica started yelling, I firmly told her, "Please stop insulting Sarah. I won't allow you to say anything more about my precious wife." Following me, Ethan also raised his voice in anger. "I'm really glad you and my brother divorced. Sarah doesn't see my brother as just a wallet, unlike someone. I'm happy to have such a wonderful sister-in-law." As Ethan glared coldly at Jessica, she ran off with a frustrated look on her face. Later, Emily found out that Jessica had been causing trouble by flirting with male colleagues at work without doing any actual work. There were even cases involving married men that turned into messy situations. It seemed she was still causing trouble, so I requested her contract termination from the staffing agency. When her contract wasn't renewed, Jessica was furious and screamed in front of the president's office, but ended up just embarrassing herself and was taken away by security. Seeing no one oppose the termination, you can imagine what her attitude was like usually, Emily said, and I completely agree. She must have been incredibly disliked. Well, that's enough about her. What's important to me now isn't Jessica. Have a great day at work today. Sarah sends me off with a smile. Bro, let's work hard and make it big today. Ethan is always there to give me a push and pull me along when needed. President Johnson, keep it together. Look, you have another meeting. Emily may be scary when angry, but she respects me and follows my lead. And then there are the employees who work hard at the company. If any of my dear ones were to suffer, I'd want to help them with all my might. Just like Sarah and Ethan reached out and helped me when I was struggling. I strongly feel that I want to be someone who can save those who are hurt. There's no place for the poo here, so just go home. Subcontractors are out of place here. Laughing together, the two of them made their remarks. Indeed, our factory is a subcontractor. But being looked down upon to this extent is something I can't accept. Understood. Of course, I'll take my leave then. As usual, I put on my business smile. I held back any signs of frustration, making sure not to let them show, and quickly left the venue. Alex, huh? As I was leaving, a man called out to me. He looked at me with a puzzled expression. Why are you here? The event hasn't even started yet. Actually, I explained the whole situation to him. I see. The fault lies entirely with them in this case. You can do as you please, Alex, now and in the future. Surprisingly, he said that, and I decided to take the opportunity to do as I pleased. And then, on the day of the business meeting, I'm sorry, but we no longer intend to do business with you. What? I had decided to cancel a contract worth $200 million. My name is Alex Johnson. I'm a 33-year-old factory owner, living with my beloved wife and children. The factory was originally my father-in-law's. Due to family circumstances, I had to start working right after high school, and by chance, I ended up at my father-in-law's factory. Eager to get accustomed to the work as quickly as possible, I worked very hard. Are you the new guy everyone's talking about? I'm not sure what you mean by the new guy, but I am new here. I've heard about you. It seems you've been doing quite well. There, I caught the eye of my father-in-law, who was visiting the factory. After that, he started to take me under his wing, teaching me the ropes. Alex, you don't have a girlfriend, do you? No, I don't have one at the moment. How about I introduce you to my daughter then? And a few years later, he introduced me to Emily, who would become my wife. Oh, you like that character too, Emily? Yes, I do. I never imagined you would like them too, Alex. Despite the age difference, we hit it off immediately. After about 3 years of dating, we got married. During those blissful times, my father-in-law fell. Fortunately, I was with him and was able to call an ambulance immediately, saving his life. I've had a chronic condition for a while. Well, I've seen my daughter in her wedding dress, and I've got a successor. Honestly, there's nothing left I wish for. He said that, but we couldn't accept it. We're not ready to say goodbye yet, and so, the family and the factory workers all came together to support him. As a result, my father-in-law managed to pull through and eventually got back on his feet to return to the factory. However, with the constant fear of him collapsing again, I took over and started running the factory. Having worked since graduating from high school, I had the experience, and after being favored by my father-in-law, I continued to learn by his side. But I think I had quite a hard time in the beginning. Phew, I'm exhausted. Are you okay? Are you not pushing yourself too hard? Yeah, I'm fine. It's tough, but I want to live up to your dad's expectations. Being a young manager, I was sometimes underestimated, and there were malicious clients who tried to take advantage of that. Still, with Emily's support and my father-in-law's trust, I was able to persevere. And as I continued to push through, I eventually got accustomed to the work. Alex, actually, that's when we found out Emily was pregnant. My father-in-law said, I never thought I'd get to hold a grandchild. Watching him cry with joy, I couldn't help but smile. The birth of our precious daughter, June, gave me even more motivation to build up the factory. This also led me to find my own way of doing things, different from my father-in-law's approach. As a result of overcoming various challenges, I've managed to find happiness again. One day, I received news that the manager of a client company, our main contractor, had changed. At this time, what happened to the previous manager? I couldn't help but wonder. Ryan, the former manager, had a good relationship with our factory since he was in charge of our transactions. He was still in his 40s, and I hadn't heard of any illness, so retirement seemed unlikely. He was a very nice person, so I thought maybe he had been promoted, but it was an odd time for such a change. So, I contacted someone I knew at the client company. What? He was fired. Turns out, Ryan had been dismissed. Shaken, I asked for more details. Apparently, even they didn't know the reason. However, they were told by the new manager that it was because Ryan had caused significant losses. What's this new manager like? Shockingly, the new manager is said to be in his 20s. I wondered why someone so young was appointed, and it seems the president's daughter, Madison, is involved. Madison, the daughter of President Sullivan, is his only child. The president dotes on her, and her word is practically law. So, what do Madison have to do with the change in management? There are rumors that Madison and the new manager are dating, and she might have played a role in ousting the previous manager to secure the position for her boyfriend. There seems to be such a rumor going around. I thanked my acquaintance for the information and ended the call. Regardless of the truth, it was unsettling to hear such news. Ryan had really helped us out. To think it's come to this, I thought, as I informed the new manager that I'd be coming to greet him soon. I also decided to inform my father-in-law, just to be safe. Such a thing has happened. I'll look into it on my end. Alex, you focus on your work, he said, his expression as complex as mine. The next day, with no reply about the greeting, I went about my work as usual. Just like my father-in-law used to do, I was also making rounds inside the factory. Excuse me. Then, a man appeared. Both I and the factory employees wondered who he could be. I'm the new manager, Henry. Ah, you are. The new manager, Henry, came at me with a pompous attitude. Even as I thought to myself that this must be the rumored new manager, I greeted him properly, as any professional would. I made the effort to come here, and you can't even offer me tea. Henry, without any proper greeting, started complaining to me. I responded with a wry smile, apologizing and repeatedly, saying, I'm sorry for the oversight. From experience, with people like him, it's best to just apologize and not bruise their ego. That way, they'll be satisfied on their own, and you can get through the interaction. It seems you understand your place quite well. Indeed, he seemed satisfied and didn't say anything more. However, unlike Ryan, who would always greet us with a gentle smile and a good job, Henry crossed his arms and surveyed the factory. Watching him, I couldn't help but think that the rumors might be true. Alex, you're here, and this is a guest. Emily came with June. I remembered she said she'd stop by today. Emily, are you Henry? Then, Henry looked surprised. Emily did too, muttering in surprise before her expression turned quizzical. So, this kid is your daughter? Huh? Did you marry some lowlife who works in a factory just because she's the factory owner's daughter? Is that a problem? It's none of your business, anyway. Seeing Emily holding our child, Henry started to provoke with a displeased face. She deftly avoided his taunts and stood by my side. For your information, he's my husband. She said that and handed June to me with a smile. I accepted her with a smile, and for a moment I thought I saw Henry glare sharply at us. Don't you regret marrying someone just because they are from a subcontractor's family, even if it's your own family's business? But then his expression quickly changed to one of mockery, and I wondered if I had imagined it. His condescending tone really got to me. I was irritated by the way he talked down to Emily, but I held it in. Holding June. Unfortunately for you, I'm incredibly happy to be married to him. Emily said this with a beaming smile. At that, my irritation vanished, replaced by a feeling of joy. I wasted my time. Seeing our interaction, Henry clicked his tongue and left the factory. What did he even come here for? An acquaintance. Just from high school for a bit. It's not important now. Got it. Seeing Emily's face, like she didn't want to remember, I didn't ask any more. But still, such a troublesome person has become the manager. Thinking about future transactions, I couldn't help but worry. Soon after, a large project involving several companies was set to start. Our factory played a crucial role in this project. So, the whole factory was energized. Mr. Thompson, there's a call for you. It was from Madison, the president's daughter. Thank you for waiting. This is Alex. Hello, I hear you were rude to my future husband. Caught off guard by her sudden accusation, I could only respond with a confused. I was aware of the incident but hadn't initiated it. I had no idea what she was referring to, but the caller was Sullivan's only daughter, Madison, whom he dotes on. I apologize if I made you feel uncomfortable. So, I apologize just in case. Madison then unilaterally stated, he's different from subcontractors like you, and you should respect him, the future president, before handing up the phone. Could she really have called just for that? I was taken aback. Then, I received a call from an acquaintance at a client company. What's going on? An exchange meeting. Apparently, to facilitate smooth progress on the project, an exchange meeting was being organized to foster interaction between the companies involved. Madison had insisted on being the one to contact our factory about the event, saying, I'll handle the communication with that factory. Someone was watching nearby, just to be safe, and confirmed that the call ended without mentioning the important details, only complaints being made. That's why they decided to contact me again to ensure I was properly informed. Thank you very much for letting us know. Not mentioning the main point, Madison seems to be quite troublesome. I thanked them for the call and checked our schedule. Had they been a bit later, we might have made other plans. I wonder if both of them will attend the event. I couldn't help but sigh, wishing I could avoid meeting them. On the day of the exchange meeting, I arrived at the venue a bit early. There were only a few people around, engaging in light conversation. What's a lowlife like you doing here? Henry found me and started to hassle me. Madison was by his side, looking down on me with a smirk. How dare you show your face here? The nerve of some poor people. Really, among all these prestigious companies, you're the only subcontractor. Is that so? Sorry, but I need to greet the others. I tried to dodge them, but they persisted in harassing me. Their interaction with me drew puzzled looks from others in the venue. Unwanted attention was on me, and I was wondering what to do when Henry suddenly pushed me by the shoulder. There's no place for the poo here, so just go home. Subcontractors don't belong here. They laughed together, mocking me. Indeed, our factory is a subcontractor. But being looked down upon to this extent is something I can't accept. Understood. If you get it, then the poor losers better disappear quickly. Yes, of course, I'll take my leave then. As usual, I put on my business smile. I held back any signs of frustration, making sure not to let them show, and quickly left the venue. Alex, huh? As I was leaving, a man called out to me. He looked at me with a puzzled expression. It was President Sullivan, Madison's real father, and the president of the client company. You're early, President Sullivan. I heard you'd be attending too, so I thought I'd say hello and maybe talk about him. He must be referring to my father-in-law. I've heard that my father-in-law and President Sullivan have been acquainted since the founding of their companies. Well, since I took over, there hasn't been much personal interaction with President Sullivan. Why are you here? The event hasn't even started yet. Actually, I explained the whole situation to him. Even though I thought it might be in vain, I told him everything without holding back. I just wanted to trust him, as my father-in-law had. After hearing my story, President Sullivan sighed deeply. I see. This time, the fault lies entirely with them. Alex, you can do as you please, now and in the future. Really? Does that mean? It seemed President Sullivan understood without needing further explanation. He nodded firmly and said, I'll leave it to you, and you won't be held responsible, allowing me to take the liberty to act as I saw fit. What about the exchange meeting? I need to discuss future matters, so I'll be leaving. I'm sorry for this trouble. Saying that, President Sullivan apologized. Then, he handed me a piece of paper. Take some time off. With that, he went into the venue. After seeing him off, I opened the paper he had given me. It had Ryan's name and phone number on it. Hello, it's been a while. This is Alex. I called right away, and Ryan, a bit surprised, listened to me. After discussing various matters and what to do next, I made a decision. I need to go back and report this to my father-in-law and the others. Muttering to myself, I hurried home. A little while later. You made us look like fools, Henry called me. It seems the attendees at the exchange meeting found it suspicious that I was missing. President Sullivan had asked Madison. I heard Henry sent him home. Madison couldn't answer, but the other attendees testified. Because of that, we were in a very uncomfortable position. But isn't it true that you sent me home? That's true, but Henry, surprised that I talked back for the first time, fell silent. Just a little pushback and he's speechless. It seems his mental fortitude is weaker than I thought. If that's all, I'll be taking my leave. With that, I hung up. Then, I turned back to my father-in-law. So, I've decided to withdraw from this project. I've left the factory in your hands, so do as you please. I would have lost my temper and resorted to violence by now. Alex, you are truly kind. After our discussion, I decided to cancel the contract on the day of the business meeting. And on the day of the meeting, when I arrived at the client's company, an obviously displeased Henry was waiting for me. We're busy here. Just sign this contract and get it over with. There's no need for that. We're canceling a contract. What? Henry looked bewildered at my words. But he quickly burst into derisive laughter. Try it if you think you can. If you do that, your factory will be finished. Don't worry. If anything, it will be you who ends up regretting this. I said with a smile, and Henry, true to form, kept laughing at me disdainfully. Then I decided to leave the company. Excuse me, Alex. On my way out, Madison approached me. She looked somber, a stark contrast to her demeanor at the exchange meeting. I heard about you from my father. It seemed that President Sullivan had told his daughter the truth. And perhaps after a lecture from him, she appeared quite downcast. I'm sorry for my rude behavior before, she said, deeply apologizing. I was taken aback by her apology, not expecting it, and just looked at her wide-eyed. She gave a wry smile in response. Well, I'll be going now. I could only watch as she walked away. Could it be that Madison? I had an inkling of the situation but quickly refocused, reminding myself it wasn't my place to interfere. After greeting an acquaintance, I left the company. A few hours later, I was back at the factory, working as usual, when Henry called. Long time no talk, what's up? Hey, signed the contract now. Oh, what's the rush? I asked, though I knew exactly why he was panicking. This project can go on without your factory. Indeed, this project was based on a patent I held. This patent was what set me apart from my father-in-law. After extensive research, I had developed a unique product. Securing a patent for it had significantly benefited our factory. If we don't have that, the whole project is back to square one, and if that happens, I'll be held responsible. I'm afraid it's too late for that. We've already signed a contract with someone else. At my words, he exclaimed in disbelief. Huh? Then, it was my turn to laugh. I had learned from Ryan about setting up a new company on the day of the event. Actually, I'm receiving support from President Sullivan. Would you like to sign a contract with us? Ryan had been harassed by Henry, the current manager. Even when he tried to report it, Madison would quash his complaints. So, he decided to resign before things got worse. President Sullivan then approached him, suggesting he start a company as a subsidiary. Given the current circumstances, I decided to contract with Ryan's company. What a joke! If we can't secure a contract with you, we're looking at a loss of $200 million. I'm afraid there's nothing I can do. With that, I ended the call. I thought I heard Henry scream in frustration, but I ignored it. Back to work, then. And so, I continued with my work as usual. Soon after. I look forward to working with you. Madison came to our factory. Since then, she had been disowned by President Sullivan and had resigned from the company. And so, we took her in, given she had nowhere else to go. Nice to work with you, Madison. It's nice to work with you too, Alex. Indeed, President Sullivan doted on Madison. But that didn't mean he indulged her every whim. He raised Madison with great care, resulting in her pure-hearted nature. Being too naive, she became easily influenced by those around her. And that's where Henry found his opportunity. It was my first time being in a relationship. Led by Henry, she continued to behave as he suggested, fitting the role of a president's daughter. Even though President Sullivan noticed, he was too busy with his duties and supporting individuals like Ryan to intervene. Thus, many assumed Madison was spoiled and could do as she pleased. When this issue arose, he told me to ask your father to help me out. When I approached my father, he told me to choose between resigning in his stead or letting him take responsibility and resign. Madison then consulted Henry. In response, Henry commanded her to resign for his sake and then coldly stated, "I have no further use for you." I thought I had no place left. Why did you decide to take me in? I can somewhat relate to how you feel. Really, I lost my parents in an accident as a child. Taken in by my uncle and aunt, I was always seen as a nuisance and a parasite, never feeling like I belonged. That's why I chose to work right after high school. But my father-in-law found me, gave me a place in this factory, and Emily provided the affection I never received before. I see, that's how it was. I just wanted to do for you what I was grateful for back then. If you feel like you have no place, our factory will welcome you. Work hard, and I'm sure someone will offer you the affection you deserve. Madison looked down at my words. I pretended not to notice the tears spilling from her eyes. Since then, she has been working earnestly at the factory as if she were a completely different person. Her genuine nature has made her well-liked among the employees, especially the older ladies who enthusiastically doted on her, saying, "We'll make you a nice girl. She'll be all right, I'm sure of it." That's good to hear. When I reported her progress to President Sullivan, he seemed genuinely relieved. The project eventually was taken over by the subsidiary, minimizing the losses. However, leaving Henry and Madison unpunished for their actions, which nearly led to a massive loss, was inadvisable. So, President Sullivan offered the choice partly to understand Henry's true intentions. "I'm glad I left it in your hands." He then pleaded with me, practically on his knees, to take in Madison after her dismissal. Initially, I hesitated to accept her, remembering how she had joined Henry in mocking me, but I found aspects of her situation sympathetic. That's why I decided to take her in. "Please look after my daughter from now on. I'll make sure she works hard, don't worry." I nodded with a smile to President Sullivan's request. Not long after, I heard from the acquaintance that Henry had resigned. Although Madison's sacrifice spared him from dismissal, the leak of the incident subjected him to constant scrutiny within the company. Eventually, unable to bear the pressure and being sidelined, he resigned. He did have potential. Despite his character, Henry was admittedly competent. President Sullivan had genuinely considered him a candidate for the next president, hence giving him the managerial position. But his arrogance led to this debacle. Maybe it was my presence that fueled his actions further. It turns out, Emily and Henry were classmates in high school, and he had harbored feelings for her. However, trying to get Emily's attention, he belittled the factory. Angered by the insult to her father's factory, Emily told him, "Never come near me again," and cut off all ties. Later, as adults, he discovered his company was doing business with our factory. He became in charge of the factory, flaunting his position as a young manager to reconnect with Emily. "But she's my wife now, and we even have a child." Driven by jealousy towards me, he just went off the rails, always been childish. Now, I can't even understand why I associated with someone like that. The reason we know all this is because Henry stormed into the factory one day. There, he ranted about his personal circumstances without anyone asking. As a result, he was chased off by our burly employees. According to President Sullivan, Henry has been sent back to his rural hometown. After he stormed in, we demanded compensation for business interference. Now, he's just paying off the debt he incurred to settle the compensation. He got what he deserved. His family back home seems to be keeping a close eye on him. This ensures Madison and I can focus on our work, and Emily can devote herself to parenting. "Hey, Emily, can I feed June?" "Sure, go ahead." Yes, Madison has grown quite fond of Emily and actively takes care of June. Apparently, she always longed for a sibling, being an only child. Seeing her now, radiant with joy, I'm reassured that my decision to take her in was right. Overcoming this hurdle, I continue to work hard as usual. "Madison, you've really gotten the hang of things lately." All thanks to everyone here, Madison has adapted well to the job, becoming an invaluable part of our team. Someone was quietly observing her efforts. In his eyes, there was a depth of affection Henry never had, suggesting that happier days for her were not far off. Time for me to step up my game, too. I have a precious family to protect. For their sake, and for our cherished factory, I'll keep pushing forward, believing that, together, we can overcome any challenge that may arise.